Here's a little video compilation of all of the evolutions from this episode. What is going on, guys? My name is McBillies, and welcome back to The Violent Delinquent. One of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's biggest draws is the concept that the game is open world, which means there's no direction for gym badges and unlocks, and you're basically free to roam the world as much as you want. Because I love doing challenges related to catching Pokemon, I tried to find out how many Pokemon you could register in your Pokedex before even going to school at Mesa Goza. And here's how it went. So, if you watch any kind of Pokemon challenge videos, you know this concept is called a Professor Oak's challenge, which requires you to catch every Pokemon that's available before each gym. However, in this game it's a little different. One big element in this game is that there are 18 badges obtainable for each type that's available in the game. Now normally this challenge is based on how many Pokemon you can catch before each gym, but I decided to change that rule set a little bit and make it so that I had to catch everything before stepping foot on the school grounds. So today we start where we left off in the last video. As you can imagine, the beginning of this challenge is extremely daunting, as there really isn't any wrong direction that you can go in, but the sheer mass amount of Pokemon that you can see on the routes leading up to the Mesa Goza alone is pretty insane, considering I've already registered 41 Pokemon. We start this video off with catching the Pokemon that gave us the most trouble in episode 1, Pachirisu. Now that that's out of the way, I decided to head to Artizone, and then keep going to collect all of the fast travel points from major cities, which began the small list of inconveniences that I had to deal with for this adventure. The first and most obvious one is movement. Because I'm locked out of school, I have no access to Miraidon, which means that for the entire duration of this challenge I have to walk. I will say that over time I got used to moving at a snail's pace, but this is honestly one of the largest problems in completing this challenge as quickly as possible. I ended up finding another Gimmighoul chest and getting some coins for catching it. Although I wasn't really having any trouble catching anything, I knew that later on it was going to get pretty tedious and more difficult. With that in mind, I wanted to find a Pokemon that I could grab that was really good at catching Pokemon, and fortunately, there were a few options at this point. But the most obvious one is Ralts, which evolves to Gallade, and can use False Swipe. Then, it comes time to grind out for my inevitably long list of evolutions. I just throw them in the party and then grind them up through shared experience, which you can see in the small video going on in the bottom corner here. It's also important to note that Pokemon have a lower chance of being caught until you obtain the appropriate amount of badges. This is when I head to the northernmost section of the map around the Fairy Team base and encounter Chansey, which obviously gives some of the highest experience yields in the game. Along the way, I managed to find some rare items like Dawnstones and special Pokeballs, which it's probably now important to note that I'm unable to buy anything but regular Pokeballs at the Pokestop, because the shop upgrades are tied to the amount of gem badges that you have. Although there are a ton of drops you could pick up that will eventually respawn, these catching items are going to be extremely limited for the mass volume of Pokemon that have to be caught, so it's important to pick and choose the right things to use them on now. Now, normally walking around this location finding Chansey isn't very common, which obviously makes the game plan of mass grinding these pretty much impossible to pull off, but fortunately for all of you, I'm stubborn. If you watched the last video, you know that we got our Annihilate using this method, but what I didn't show is all of the other Pokemon that we evolved during that massive grind. Oh, and that shiny Citadel that I showed? Yeah, we caught it. Leveling up and evolving my team one after another, I was able to get a lot of the Pokedex done. There was one problem with this method though. To keep you from scaling too high before taking on the gems too early and such, Chanseys only give about 700 experience points per fight, meaning that Pokemon like Dino and such are going to take forever to rank up in the future. I have another idea for that though, and it might actually work better than this Chansey method. I haven't tested it yet, but we'll find out in the next one. My initial goal was just to grind up Annihilate and Gallade as much as I could, but because I really wanted to make a dent in the dex total for the day, I decided to grind here until all of the Pokemon I had caught were fully evolved. Then just run around with whatever my level Gallade ended up being. This took me around 7 hours total to complete, and with a couple more evolutions sprinkled in, I had obtained all 90 Pokemon. I then go around and catch a few more Pokemon to go ahead and round out the dex to the 100 mark. That's going to do for today's video. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. If you have any ideas for videos that you'd like to see in this game, please leave a comment below. And if you'd like to see any of the other videos, go ahead and click this playlist. Other than that, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.